I want you to think back to a time when you were sitting in a lecture hall.
Oh, we've all been there.
Right. And there's this brilliant expert up at the front just droning on and on.
Completely failing to read the room.
Exactly. I mean, they know the subject perfectly, but they are just completely failing to engage anyone. And it kind of makes you wonder, why is it that knowing a subject inside and out doesn't automatically make someone a good teacher?
It's a really profound question, and I think it gets to the heart of what we're talking about today.
Yeah, so today's deep dive is all about unpacking the philosophy of this 30-year veteran educator. His community calls him Papa Bear.
Which is just a great name, by the way.
It really is. And his whole core thesis, his absolute golden rule, is that you have to touch a student's heart before you can touch their mind.
Right, which sounds, maybe a little cliche at first. But when you look at the science behind it, it's incredibly robust.
I mean, that's the mission today, right? To figure out how this actually transforms kids from just passive listeners into active, engaged thinkers.
Yes. And to set the stage here, Papa Bear operates on this foundational concept in education called Maslow before Bloom.
Okay, let's unpack this. Maslow and Bloom.
Right. So before any high-level cognitive work can happen, that's Bloom's taxonomy, the critical thinking, the analysis.
The heavy lifting.
Exactly. Before any of that can happen, a student's basic human needs for safety and belonging have to be secured. And that is Maslow's hierarchy.
Okay, I like to think of the brain kind of like a smartphone.
Oh, I like this.
Yeah, so if your phone is constantly searching for a Wi-Fi signal in this case, a signal of safety and belonging, the battery is just draining in the background.
Just burning through power.
Right. It drains before you even open up the heavy learning apps. You have no battery left for math or reading.
That is such a perfect analogy.
Hmm.
Because a drained battery is exactly what happens when we confuse the role of a teacher with the role of, say, a college professor.
Right, because those are two totally different jobs.
Completely different. I mean, to be a college professor, the main requirement is just having a master's degree or higher in your specific field.
Content expertise.
Exactly. You don't actually need a teaching certificate. You just need to know your stuff.
Which is why you get those auditorium lectures where the professor is just transmitting information to a room full of half-interested students.
And that transmission model works if the student is already motivated. But a certified elementary teacher, they possess a completely different skill set.
Yeah, Papa Bear calls it discovery learning.
Right. The teacher's true skill isn't just reciting facts. It's about piquing a student's interest so intensely that the student actually becomes the one asking the vital questions.
They become an independent learner.
Exactly. But to get a kid to be an independent learner, they have to feel safe enough to ask a question, which means they have to be willing to look like they don't know something.
That's a huge risk for a kid.
It's a massive social risk. And this is where the neuroscience of safety really kicks in.
Okay, break that down for me.
Well, when a teacher builds a positive emotional bond with the student, it actually causes a biological reaction. It releases endorphins.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it increases serotonin levels. So literally, making a kid feel cared for changes their brain chemistry to make them more receptive to cognitive challenges.
That's incredible. And the source material mentions this thing called the affective filter, right?
Yes, the affective filter. It's a crucial concept. If a child is dealing with anxiety or they feel like they don't belong, their affective filter is high.
And what does that actually do to the brain?
It literally blocks complex thinking. The brain goes into survival mode. You cannot do higher order math if your brain thinks it's in danger.
So it's not that the kid isn't smart enough, it's just that the signal is blocked.
Exactly. But when you foster that caring environment, you're signaling to the nervous system that the classroom is a safe place to take an intellectual risk.
And the results of this are actually measurable, right?
Very much so. There were entire programs like Capturing Kids' Hearts built on this exact philosophy.
I've heard of that one.
And the data shows that this kind of emotional engagement drastically reduces disciplinary issues. Plus, schools using this report higher average scores in reading and math.
Okay, but let me play devil's advocate here for a second.
Go for it.
If the goal is to make students independent learners, doesn't spending all this time on emotional bonding take away from actual academic instruction time?
It's a super common question, but it's actually a paradox. Time spent on emotional safety doesn't steal instructional time. It actually buys it back.
Wait, how does it buy it back?
Because it prevents disruptions. Think about how much time is wasted when a teacher has to stop a lesson to deal with a behavioral issue.
Oh, right, like 10 minutes just trying to get everyone to quiet down.
Exactly. By lowering the affective filter on the front end, You signal to the nervous system that the room is safe. So the kids regulate themselves, and you breeze right through the lesson.
Okay, that makes total sense. So moving from the abstract neuroscience to the actual practical steps, what is the very first thing Papa Bear does?
It starts the literal moment a student crosses the classroom threshold. The very first tangible way to reach their heart is through positive greetings at the door,
Just saying hi to them.
but doing it warmly and by name every single morning. It sounds simple, but it is incredibly powerful.
Does it really make that much of a difference?
Let me give you some numbers. There was a study in 2018 published in the journal Education. They looked at teachers who did positive greetings at the door.
Okay,
It resulted in a 20% boost in academic engagement.
20% just from saying hello.
Yes, and a 9% reduction in disruptive behavior.
That is a crazy return on investment for a 5-second interaction.
It really is. It instantly fosters a sense of belonging. And, maybe more importantly, it allows the teacher to gauge a child's emotional state before they even sit down.
Like taking their emotional temperature.
Exactly. But once they are inside the room, that leads to the second tangible way Papa Bear reaches their heart.
Right, the mood meter.
Yes, it is the very first unobstructed thing students see when they walk in.
I found this part so fascinating. So this mood meter thing, it originated from the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence, right?
That's right. It's a visual tool to help kids identify and label their emotions.
Okay, so paint a picture of it for us.
It's essentially a chart divided into 4 quadrants. And it maps emotions based on 2 things: energy level and pleasantness.
So let's go through the quadrants. The first one is red.
Right. The red quadrant is high energy and unpleasant. So this is when a kid is angry, anxious, or super stressed out.
Got it. And then yellow is next.
Yellow is high energy, but pleasant. Think excited, joyful, enthusiastic.
Like maybe it's their birthday and they can't sit still.
Exactly. Then you have the blue quadrant. This is low energy and unpleasant.
So sad or tired.
Right. Disappointed, maybe they didn't sleep well. And finally, the green quadrant. This is low energy, but pleasant.
Calm and relaxed.
Yes, peaceful. That is the ideal state for focused learning.
You know, it reminds me of a car's dashboard warning lights.
Oh, I love that comparison.
Yeah, like if your check engine light is flashing red, you're in that red quadrant, you wouldn't just ignore it and try to drive 100 miles an hour down the highway.
You destroy the engine.
Right. You have to address the engine first. You have to fix the red light before you can drive.
That is exactly what the mood meter does.
Uh.
And it gives kids a precise emotional vocabulary.
Instead of just saying they feel fine or mad.
Exactly. Fine is a catch-all word that gives teachers 0 information. But if a student can pinpoint that they aren't just mad, but they're actually frustrated or overwhelmed.
That's a huge difference.
It is, because if you are frustrated, you might just need help with a math problem. If you are overwhelmed, you might need a quiet corner for 5 minutes.
So this linguistic precision is actually the foundation for self-regulation.
Exactly. By accurately labeling their emotions, students can apply specific strategies to either stay productive or shift their energy.
It totally normalizes the fact that our emotions fluctuate.
And it builds incredible collective classroom empathy. If a kid sees their friends is in the blue quadrant, they know to maybe be a little gentler with them that day.
That's so smart. It mitigates issues like test anxiety before they even start.
Precisely.
Okay, so the kids are physically in the room, they've mapped their emotional state, but they just came in from the chaos of the bus or the hallway.
Their nervous systems are still hyped up.
Right. So how do we transition their brains from that morning rush into actual deep cognitive focus?
This is the third tangible step. Papa Bear uses what he calls a soft start.
A soft start.
Yes, and he does this through sustained silent reading. You might know it as SSR or DEAR, drop everything and read.
Oh yeah, we definitely had DEAR time when I was a kid, but it always just felt like filler time.
A lot of people view it that way.
Right.
But physiologically, it is a crucial intervention. Sitting in silence with a book acts as a decompression chamber.
It calms the nervous system down.
Exactly. It lowers stress and heart rates before any heavy academic subjects begin.
But there are academic benefits too, right?
Oh, absolutely. 10 to 15 minutes of in-the-mind reading builds cognitive stamina. It builds mental endurance for longer texts later on.
So it's like a warm-up for the brain.
It is. It improves reading fluency, automatic word recognition, and vocabulary in context.
Now, one thing that stood out to me in the source material was the autonomy factor here.
Yes, this is key. The kids have to self-select their reading material.
Right, so it transforms the act of reading from a mandated chore into an actual pleasurable hobby.
If you force a kid to read a specific textbook during a soft start, it defeats the whole purpose.
And the adults have to participate too, don't they?
They do. Papa Bear emphasizes that adults, the teachers, any staff in the room, they must also read silently.
It can't just be grading papers at your desk.
No, because then you are sending the message that reading is just busy work for kids.
Hmm.
You have to model a positive behavior and prove it's a valuable activity.
Okay, but here's my question. He says there are absolutely no quizzes or book reports allowed for this reading time.
Strictly for enjoyment.
If there are no quizzes, how does the teacher know the student is actually learning anything? How do you know they aren't just staring blankly at a page?
It's a fair question, because as adults, we are obsessed with immediate assessment. But the goal here isn't a test score. The goal is habit building.
So it's like an invisible kind of learning.
Exactly. It's invisible learning. They are building focus, stamina, and intrinsic motivation.
And that pays off later.
Immensely. It pays off during actual assessments down the road because the foundational endurance is already there. They don't burn out halfway through a test.
Makes total sense. Okay, so silent reading focuses the individual mind, but a classroom is a community.
Right, there are 30 kids in there.
So how does Papa Bear bring the room together as a single, unified group after they've all been quietly in their own heads?
That brings us to the fourth tangible step, the shared civic routine.
And in his classroom, that is the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yes. Now, Papa Bear taught in Michigan, and there's actually a Michigan law requiring that schools provide the opportunity to recite the pledge.
Right. And we need to be really careful here to just impartially lay out the facts because this can be a very controversial topic legally and politically.
Absolutely. We're just looking at the legal framework and how he applies it. So legally, there is a landmark 1943 Supreme Court ruling, West Virginia State Board of Education v. Barnett.
And what did that ruling establish?
It explicitly protected a student's right to opt out. You cannot force a student to stand or recite the pledge. They have the constitutional right to sit quietly.
And Papa Bear respects that entirely.
Completely. But he does have a unique requirement. If a student is going to sit out, he asks for a written note from their parent.
Why is that?
To ensure the kid isn't just sitting down because they're feeling tired or lazy that morning, he wants it to be a conscious, intentional choice made with their family.
That's a really interesting way to handle it. And there's also the religious freedom controversy with the phrase under God.
Right. Those words were added in 1954, and there's pushback regarding the First Amendment's Establishment Clause.
So secular families might object.
Exactly. And again, Papa Bear impartially explains that students can simply opt out of saying those specific words or skip the routine entirely.
But for the students who do participate, the vocabulary of the traditional pledge is pretty dense for an elementary schooler.
It's incredibly dense. Words like allegiance and republic.
A 7-year-old doesn't know what an indivisible republic is.
Not at all.
Yeah.
They're usually just rotely chanting sounds they don't understand, which is why Papa Bear introduces what he calls the revised pledge.
He actually rewrote it for them.
He did. They recite his kid-friendly version immediately after the traditional one. It breaks down all that heavy jargon.
Let me see if I have the translation here. Ah, yeah. It goes, a single country protected by a higher power and held together for the freedom and fairness for each American.
Notice how he translates it. Indivisible becomes held together. Liberty and justice becomes freedom and fairness.
It's a fascinating balance. He's honoring the state requirements and the tradition, but actively translating the complex civic jargon so they actually grasp the meaning.
And he emphasizes that this focuses on unity. He doesn't shy away from the dark historical events of our past either.
He brings those up.
Yes, he acknowledges that our history has flaws, and he teaches them that they have a need for future empathy, conflict resolution, and forgiveness.
So it's not just a blind chant. It's a call to action for the kids.
Exactly. And if we tie this back to his main philosophy, this routine is all about belonging.
Right, that third tier of Maslow.
Whether a student recites the traditional pledge, the revised pledge, or respectfully opts out with a note, the shared routine anchors the class.
It's a collective experience before the academic day truly begins.
Precisely. They are doing something as a unified team.
Okay, so we've walked through the entire morning routine. The door greeting, the mood meter, the silent reading, the pledge.
It's a very deliberate sequence.
It really is. So now I want to step back and look at the psychological blueprint that holds all these practices together.
This is the fifth tangible step, And it's something Papa Bear introduces to his students in the very first week of school.
He actually teaches them Maslow's hierarchy of learning pyramid.
Yes, he puts the pyramid right on the board, and he uses it to assure the students that they will get what they need to learn.
By doing that, he explicitly normalizes different learning speeds, doesn't he?
Exactly. He tells them, if you are learning at a different rate, it doesn't mean you are less smart.
It just means a previous need on the pyramid wasn't met.
Right. It removes the shame from struggling.
So let's break down these 5 tiers because he uses these great kid-friendly terms for them.
Let's do it. Tier 1 is physiological needs. Papa Bear calls this the engine fuel.
The engine fuel,
Yeah.
so water, snacks, sleep, warmth.
Yes. If a kid's brain is in survival mode because they didn't have breakfast, they cannot focus on a spelling test. The engine needs fuel.
Makes total sense. Okay,
Yeah.
tier 2 is safety needs. He calls this the bubble.
The bubble. This is all about having kind rules, zero bullying, and teacher fairness.
Like a protective shield around them.
Exactly. It creates daily predictability. If they don't have the bubble, they are constantly looking over their shoulder.
Okay, tier 3 is love and belonging. And his term for this is the team.
Right. Are they included in games? Do they feel valued in the classroom?
If they feel like part of the team, it totally eradicates that fear of rejection.
It does, which frees up so much mental energy. That brings us to tier 4. Esteem needs. He calls this the superpower.
The superpower, I love that. So where does that come from?
It comes from genuine confidence. It's the feeling of mastering a hard math concept, earning respect, or receiving an authentic compliment.
It's not just fake praise, it's real achievement.
Exactly. And once you have the fuel, the bubble, the team, and the superpower, you finally reach tier 5, self-actualization.
Which he calls the goal.
Yes. The goal is when a student tackles a creative project or a really hard problem, not for a grade, but simply for the pure joy of growing.
Here's where it gets really interesting to me. If you think about this pyramid, it's exactly like building a house.
Oh, that's a great way to visualize it.
You know, you can't install this beautiful skylight that's self-actualization if the foundational concrete of your house is sinking into the mud.
Right. If engine fuel and safety are crumbling, the roof collapses.
You have to pour a solid foundation first.
And that is the profound empathy in Papa Bear's approach. If a student is struggling academically, he doesn't view it as a deficit in intelligence.
He views it as a symptom of an unmet foundational need.
Exactly. He looks at the pyramid and says, where is the leak in the foundation? And then he fixes the leak.
Which, like you said earlier, completely removes the shame from the learning process.
It shifts the entire dynamic of the classroom.
So if we look at this whole deep dive, from the door greeting all the way to the pyramid, every single step is designed to shift the student's relationship with the classroom.
Yes, it moves them away from fear and passivity.
And it moves them into safety and active engagement.
Which brings us to Papa Bear's closing philosophy, his ultimate motto. Learning is supposed to be fun.
But we have to redefine what fun actually means here, right?
Definitely. He's not talking about instant entertainment. He's talking about type 2 fun.
Type 2 fun. Okay, explain that.
Type 1 fun is eating a cupcake. It's instantly gratifying, but it takes no effort. Type 2 fun is entirely different.
How so?
Type 2 fun is something that feels like really hard work in the middle of it, but it yields immense satisfaction when you finally succeed.
Like the video game analogy from the source material.
Exactly. Break that down because it perfectly captures it.
So think about playing a video game. If the game is too easy and you just walk through it with no challenges, it gets boring immediately.
Right, there's no payoff.
But if you fight a difficult boss and you fail a bunch of times, you get frustrated, you're sweating, you're trying to figure out the pattern,
You're working hard.
and then you finally beat the boss, the immense satisfaction you feel right then, that is type 2 fun. You leveled up.
Yes. And that is exactly what learning a complex math equation or finishing a difficult book feels like.
Yeah.
It is the joy of the struggle,
But they will only engage in that struggle if they feel safe.
if the heart has been touched first.
It all comes back to that. Well, as we wrap up today, I want to leave you, the listener, with a final provocative thought.
Let's hear it.
We've talked a lot about elementary schools today, but I want you to think about your own life, your own workplace, or even how you approach learning a new hobby today.
We are all still learners after all.
Exactly. So if you're out there struggling to grasp a new concept at work, or you're feeling completely unmotivated in your daily life, ask yourself a question.
Is it the material or is it the foundation?
Right. Is it because the task is simply too hard, or is it because somewhere in your own personal Maslow pyramid, your engine fuel is running low?
Or maybe your safety bubble has a leak.
Maybe you feel disconnected from your team. Whatever it is, maybe we all need to take a step back, figure out our foundation, and touch our own hearts before we try to force feed our minds.